You're listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe of Torch in Houston, Texas. This is the Jewish Inspiration Podcast.
And now welcome back, my dear friends, to day number 190. We're on page 986 in the Treasure for Life edition of the Orchos Tzaddikim, Ways of the Righteous. Gam labehema yesh nefesh v'ruach. And also an animal has a nefesh and a ruach, which desire things. Ki habehema misava v'koeses k'ma adam. It also gets angry. It also has temptations. Aval ha'adam yesh lo neshama yiser. But a human being has an elevated neshama, which is hamidaberes, which is able to talk. And that talking is able to inquire, and it's able to bring about intellect and develop things and develop thoughts. And you're able to challenge and become smarter. Someone came over to me today after class and he said, I'm sorry that I asked so many questions in class, and thank you for responding so patiently. He says, I kind of need to be challenged, which is why I ask questions, and then you answer me, and then you challenge me, and that's where I need to be. So I said to him, that's like two knives. You can't sharpen one knife by itself. You need another knife. And then together, they both get sharpened. So I said, it's not only you, me. I also benefit from your questions because you're my other knife that is able to sharpen my understanding and my wisdom, hopefully. What is truth and falsehood? Truth and falsehood get clearer for a person when he's able to talk. When you talk, you're able to discern what's truth and what's not. And when the body dies, then the spirit of desire and the spirit of the nefesh of desire and the nefesh of urges, and then the neshama, they cease to exist, but then the neshama is able to be elevated because you spent time during your lifetime elevating, like we mentioned in that day 189. Ha-chochma, what is the wisdom? She'eno meisa b'misas haguf. The wisdom that was acquired by this neshama doesn't end with the death of the body. And the Ruach will return to God who gave it. This is the spirit, the Ruach of wisdom. When a person sins, they're killing their Neshamah. They're killing their Neshamah. Amar Moshe Rabbeinu, and there's a verse from Ezekiel that says the sinning nefesh will die. Amar Moshe Rabbeinu olav Shalom isho Elohim ve'avadati es hanefesh hahi mikerav amah. Moshe, our teacher, taught us, and I will cause that nefesh to be cut away from the midst of its people. Shema mino, what do we see from this? Kore nefesh osa shehi mesa. Nefesh is something which can be killed. V'la'achar mos harasha hanishama hachachama yikle'eno bekaf hakela mipnei sheshama l'ruach u'nefesh. He says, then the neshama suffers after death because it listened and it acquiesced to the will of the ruach and the nefesh. La'achar sheyamos tzaddik, and after a righteous person dies, asher neshama elyona hachachama his chazkal ruach u'nefesh. And then that soul of a righteous person that was able to overcome the desires and temptations, that is elevated higher and higher to the holy throne of Hashem. And the dummy who listened to the desires and temptations of the ruach and the nefesh, nishmaso hikaris tikaris, he's pulling himself away from his essence. So he's saying here that basically we have two paths. We have the path which is invested in desires, in physical, in pleasures, in materialism, and we have the other, that the Neshamah, that wants only holy things. I want to tell you something really incredible. I've shared this example before, but I'll share it again. Imagine, what is the Neshamah? The Neshamah is like a vacuum cleaner. You ever see a vacuum cleaner? It's an amazing thing. The vacuum cleaner, you turn it on, and the suction, it just give it anything, it'll suck it. So it grabs onto your pants, it'll pull it. It grabs onto a skirt, pulls it. It grabs onto the drapes, it pulls it. It grabs onto the tablecloth, pulls it. We've all experienced this, right? We know what we're talking about. That's the Neshamah. But what happens if you don't feed the Neshamah with those pieces of pretzels? You don't give it that yummy sound that goes through the nozzle, right? Of those delicious crumbs that you're picking up. What happens? It goes wild. That's our Neshamah. Our Neshamah is always on, always sucking in what? Looking for holiness. We say, no, it's okay. Take a Barbie doll. Take a car. That's what we tell our little babies. It's okay. Take a little toy. Take some food. What's going to make them happy? Take a little bit of alcohol. Take some bourbon. Take some scotch. Take some this. Take some vacations. Take some cars. Take some houses. Take some furniture. Take some materialism. Take some watches. Take whatever the person desires. And we're trying to quiet the urge of the Neshamah with all of these things. The Neshamah only wants to be quenched by one thing: holiness. Closeness with Hashem. That's the only thing that gives pleasure to the Neshamah. Now, don't forget, the Ruach, the Nefesh, they're perfectly fine getting all of those yummy treats. It's perfectly satiated with all of that. But not the Neshamah. It's not its language. It's not its voltage. You're giving it the wrong voltage. And the more that happens, the more, if you ever wonder, by the way, why all of the extremists in the entire world are always Jewish. Karl Marx, Houdini, in every area, Einstein. You think of all of these characters like they're all Jews. Why are all the people, and even, by the way, what's his name? Madoff. Mr. Ponzi has no idea what an innocent thing he did by only doing it for $30 million. Whatever, that was a Ponzi scheme. You think that was a Ponzi scheme? Look at what he did. Look at what the Jewish guy did, right? $60 billion. Ponzi scheme. That's a Ponzi scheme. They should call it a Madoff scheme. Why? Because when you have an elevated Neshamah that is always on and you don't feed it, what's going to happen? It's going to go crazy till it grabs a tablecloth, sucks it in. Crime, magic, communism, you name it, whatever it is, it becomes completely obsessed with it. If you look at all of those save the whales, save the turtles, save those, there's always some Esther Greenstein who runs it, okay? Some Jewish lady, really lovely lady, because again, if the Neshamah is not being fed with holiness, it's going to find something else. And these are not bad causes, but that's not what fills the Neshamah. Okay, it's not what fills the Neshamah. And that's what we need to invest in. We need to find a way to fill our Neshamah. What do? We learn Torah. Torah is a primary way. Fulfilling a mitzvah, doing it properly, doing acts of kindness. Do you ever help someone out? You see an old lady walking, and you help her cross the street, right? You know that feeling of like you're on top. Mark, you know what I'm talking about. It's such a great feeling. That is the feeling of holiness. That is the feeling of greatness. You save someone's life. What a feeling. That joy. You were there to bring someone their chicken soup. They were sick and you went out of your way and you thought about them and you did something for them selflessly. That feeling when you leave, you feel like you're like walking on the clouds. Right? That's a feeling of holiness. But it has to be rooted in the proper things. Someone will say, well, that's your truth. My truth is, saving the whales. Okay. Yes.
The Neshamah is
way above. The Neshamah is way above. Way above. As we said, the Neshamah is in the mind. The Nefesh, the Ruach, Neshamah. The Ruach is in the heart. Right? I believe that's what we said, right? We said that previously. Ruach baleif. Yes, the Ruach is in the heart. והחכם ששמע לנשמה עליונה ונופחה לו מכיסא הכבוד, נשמתו תזכה לרוב טוב הצפון. The neshama, the person who has the neshama that says, I'm not going to get carried away with all that stuff. I'm not going to go after the food. I'm not going to go after the women. I'm not going to go after the desires. I'm not going to go after the fame. I'm not going to go after the money. I'm not going to go after all those things. I'm going to stay in the study hall and learn Torah. I'm going to stay and be righteous. I'm going to stay and be pious. I'm going to stay and do acts of kindness. I'm not going to run and party away. That person will attain unbelievable levels in the world to come. One that is hidden only for those who are absolutely of the best. He says, now listen, turn your ears and listen, he says. He says, the neshama resides in the heart. This seems to contradict what he stated earlier, that the neshama resides in the mind. See, he says that perhaps the explanation is as follows. Once man chooses correctly, he is placing, as it were, his neshama in his heart. So what is he doing? He's taking the neshama from his mind, putting it in his heart to overcome what was in his heart beforehand. It means he's putting his neshama in his heart now. Understand? Because you had a troublemaker there. Now you kick the troublemaker out. Now you reside in the heart. Because the heart is the bed of our actions. When someone desires something in his heart, I really want that, right? That's the actions comes from the heart. But if a person is able to put his mind over his heart, then he controls what he desires. He controls what he's tempted by. See, he says like this, V'hu moshav hayira ki misham totzaos hamachshava. V'hamachshava misromemes u'misgaberes b'chadri halev ka'asher yisromu gale hayom. Haneshama nourishes v'chokeres u'misbonenes b'chol ha'masim v'halev mishotet b'chochmaso u'meirachok limerachok v'tzofe b'ri'iyaso inyonim rabim b'rega kotan b'rega echad mechashev hino v'hena. He says the same power that the heart can be for the negative, now that you infuse your heart with your neshama, it's going to use the same power for the positive. Okay, it's an amazing thing. Imagine if these terrorists in Iran used their intellect for civilization, not for destruction. Imagine if these people in Gaza, instead of using pipes that were meant for plumbing, for the sewage system, if they used it to build a city instead of building rockets. Imagine how much good could have. But that same heart that desired to do bad could do good. Which is why, even though it's not exactly how the heart looks, but we know we refer to this as being the heart shape, right? This is the heart shape. But really, what we need to see is that there are two parts of the heart. There's the Yetzer Tov, there's the Yetzer Ra. We say this every day in our Shema. B'chol levavecha, plural, two hearts. The heart that desires to do good and the heart desires to do bad. The same heart can go one way or the other. It's your choice. That's why we say it in the Shema, to remind us of our choice, that we choose how we use our heart. So someone can't say, so look at me, I'm very into these things. I had someone tell me, he says, I'm very into things of immodesty who's busy with. He said, this is my nature, I'm just into these things. I'm like, no. You're just giving into it. And that's why you're into it. If you cleansed yourself, which he did a few years later, if you cleanse yourself, you won't be into it. But if you feed that part of your heart, that's the one that will be dominant. You feed the holiness part of your heart, that will be dominant. And this is so essential. Ha'adam, mankind, hechkim v'hiskil oso tzur olamim v'limed oso chachama v'das. Hashem gave us unbelievable wisdom, knowledge. Hashem taught us wisdom and knowledge. Ubezos hachachma zocher ha'adam kol ha'averus v'roa kol hanoldos. A person can see all of his past, and a person can see what is to come. Right? What does it say about a wise person? What's a wise person? Haroa es hanolad. Someone who's able to see what hasn't been born yet, what's going to come. How can you see what's going to come? I don't know what's going to happen. Well, you're able to see action, reaction. Meaning, a person sees, look at the Torah. The Torah is a perfect example of this, where you see how so many people invested in good and got good. People invested in bad and got bad. So you start looking at the world, you're like, 1 second, there's two worlds I'm seeing here. You have people who, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, Miriam. See, people who did good got good. People who did no good got no good. And you look at those examples as well. So we see that. We see that with our own eyes. That's our choice, which one we choose to follow. Ubezosa chachma osa galgalim v'reichayim litchon bli amal. He says, with this wisdom, he makes wheels and mills to grind without his toil. It's autopilot. Ubezosa chachma osa tzvos umamid chayolim umizaris chalutzim umatzliach b'malchus umanig b'memshalto v'shofet amo. Ubezosa chachma pores rishatot le'imke mitzulos yamun ahoris lotzu dogim hayordim imke tahomos ubezosa chachma yatzad chayos umidbarios uba yilkod ofos hamaofifim begave shomayim. He says basically that if a person is committed to this, all of the blessings of this world, all of the success, everywhere he goes, will dominate with this part of his life that he chose to make part of his life. It means if a person chooses holiness, everything he sees, everything around him will be holy. If a person chooses the material, then everything around him becomes material. Ubezosa chachma yodea umevin yisodas haguf kriruso v'chamimuso v'lachluchiso v'yabashto. He says, with this wisdom, a person knows and understands the foundations of the body, its state of cold and heat, moistness and dryness. Uba yodea umevin tachlui haguf u'refuaso u'levakesh sami ha'refuos u'mavchin to'eles hasamim v'nizkam u'machshir shoroshim va'asavim umine haperos korim v'chamim lachem v'yeveshim uba yodea lahashkos es haguf u'b'mirkechei harafuos lahamid al chezkaso. He says, with it, he knows and understands the body's ailments and its cures. He seeks out drugs. He discriminates between the benefit and dangers of drugs. He recognizes the healing properties of roots and herbs and types of fruits, cold and hot, wet and dry, and with it, he knows how to administer drugs to the body to return to it to its health. Meaning, we get a lot of wisdom. You know, it's an amazing midrash that tells us that Abraham observed the entire Torah. Abraham observed the entire Torah. What's the question you're going to ask? Why did he perform the bris at 99 years old? If he performed the entire Torah, he should have done that when he was 8 days old, or when he learned it, or when he understood it. You wait till you're 99 years old. That's when you do the bris? I thought you knew I thought you observed the entire Torah. If you observed the entire Torah, you should have performed it already. The answer our sages tell us is that Abraham understood that the bris is a covenant. What is a covenant? You have to have two parties to make a covenant. Till God wasn't in the covenant with him, he's got nothing to do a bris for. When God says, I'm ready to go into a covenant with you, now he can perform that mitzvah. That day he did the bris. You understand? So how did Abraham get to all this wisdom? Because when you understand that the mind, the Neshamah, which is in the mind, has the power to discern between right and wrong, good and evil, holy and unholy, you understand the entire world Because everyone can look at materialism. Hey, you see this little piece of materialism, right? So what happens? It falls. It's physical. I feel it. I see it. But I have now a decision to make. Is this good or is this bad? Does this bring me closer to God or not? We have this, by the way, and this is the dangerous, slippery slope of technology. Because technology has the most unbelievable power to do good. Unbelievable power. Just, if a person just stayed online to listen to Torch podcasts, right? Last year alone, I know this is the fundraiser, we're still in the fundraiser season, so just so you understand. 131,000 hours of Torah study just on Torch podcasts with Apple and Spotify. 131,000 hours. You know what that is? That's 5,477 days of nonstop Torah study. No breaks, no bathroom, no intermission, no advertisements, nothing. Just Torah study. It's unbelievable amount of Torah. That's just last year. The amount of content that's out there. We put out 1,100 videos. Right? There's a tremendous amount of content. So we see internet could be used for very good things. Technology could be used for amazing things. And then we know that technology could be used for the worst things on planet Earth. The worst things on planet Earth. Not only immodesty, immorality, things that children do that are dangerous. So we see that internet could be used for great things, and they could be used for absolute destruction. And this is going to be the challenge. This is what he's referring to. We have the Neshamah, and the Neshamah can be taken to overcome the negative, and we can use it for good things. Or we can overcome the Neshamah when the Neshamah is just sitting there saying, this guy's not listening to me. I'm trying to inspire him to do holy things. He's just not listening. And then he laments that one day we will have to be standing in judgment in front of the Almighty. And what are we going to answer? What are we going to answer? Okay, so this is the end of day number 190.
You've been listening to Rabbi Aryeh Wolbe on a podcast produced by Torch, the Torah Outreach Resource Center of Houston. Please help sponsor an episode so we can continue to produce more quality Jewish content for our listeners around the globe. Please visit torchweb.org to donate and partner with us on this incredible endeavor.